August Wilson, Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, was born April 27, 1945, in Pittsburgh to a white father, Frederick August Kittle, who never lived with his family, and a black mother, Daisy Wilson, from North Carolina. He lived with his mother and 5 siblings in a 2-room apartment on Bedford Avenue in Pittsburgh's Hill District.
We went up these steps and into that door right there. That was our front door. And these were our windows. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the 3 on the bottom here. Okay, the windows on the top up there didn't belong to us. A lady lived up there. Her name was Louise, and Louise had her own entrance. She would go in the back and come around some steps, and then that's how she got in there. So we only lived in 2 rooms. There was a kitchen and there was a living room. And so, I don't know how my mother did it, I swear. But there were 4 of us, and we all slept in the one room with my mother.
In 1959, August Wilson was the only black student in Central Catholic High School. He had to endure daily threats and abuse, which eventually drove him away. After leaving Central Catholic, August Wilson went on to Gladstone High School for the 10th grade. After completing a 20-page paper on Napoleon, Wilson was accused of plagiarizing his work, so he dropped out.
Okay, so August Wilson started writing at a young age. So my question is, as a teenager, what would he say to me to inspire me to write?
Well, you are correct, Ebony, in saying he started at a young age, because he actually started. He actually started writing when he was a teenager. That's when he wrote that paper on Napoleon that people often talk about. But before you can write, you must put something in your head. For example, when he was a young boy, he read a lot. My mother always bought us books, so he did a lot of reading. And when you read, you get ideas. And what else August Wilson did was he went out into his own neighborhood and he just looked around and observed what people were doing. He observed what people were saying. And then something just struck him about that, and he just started writing things down. He started writing what people said, and he would write down what people were doing.
The library became his school, where he studied a variety of books and found that he had a great love of the arts. In the 60s, he began writing plays in Pittsburgh and worked a number of jobs.
This is the restaurant that is replicated in his play called 2 Trains Running. Okay, now just look over there. See over there? Now that's West Funeral. Okay, so this is what people often talk about. Here is Eddie's restaurant, and a restaurant kind of represents life. Okay, there's a funeral home, and a funeral home certainly represents death. So in his plays of 2 Trains Running, I asked him one time, I said, why is it 2 trains? He said, there's always the train of life and the train of death. And they never meet.
Shortly after, he took a job in St. Paul writing dramatic skits for the Science Museum of Minnesota. He then moved to Minneapolis and began to write, clearly using speech patterns and rhythms that were familiar to him from the black neighborhoods of Pittsburgh. His writing was also strongly influenced by the blues. In 1968, he founded Black Horizons Theater Company in St. Paul, a predominantly black neighborhood referred to as The Hill. In 1972, he began writing a play called Jitney, about a gypsy cab station, which was produced in 1978 at Black Horizon and in 1982 at the Eugene O'Neill Center's National Playwright Conference.
Was his plays part of his life growing up?
Well, that's a very good question, Debony. His plays really are him. I would say that, yes, his plays are part of his growing up, but they're also a part of his life that he lived and the people that he lived with. For example, when he went out into the neighborhood, he saw people, he observed what they were doing, and they are also part of his plays. So we could say his whole life is part of his plays.
His first commercial success was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which was developed at the Playwright Center in 1983. It premiered at the Yale Repertory Theater in 1984 and went on to Broadway for 275 performances and won the New York Drama Critics Circle Award. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was the first in a cycle of 10 plays designed to represent the African American people's existence in the United States. Each play dealt with a particular decade. August Wilson's first stage play, Fences, opened on Broadway in 1987 and won the Pulitzer Prize, grossing $11 million in its first year. It was a Broadway record for a non-musical show. Piano Lesson opened next on Broadway and also won the Pulitzer Prize. August Wilson went on to write 8 additional plays.
I'm just ride around just to see if everything's still the same.
I have walked around, I have ridden around, and it changes all the time. It keeps changing.
One of like the first production that you saw of his. First production that you saw of his.
Oh, the first production we saw of any August Wilson plays was Jitney. And my mother was alive at the time. Jitney was staged in a church basement somewhere in Oakland, somewhere near the Pittsburgh, what is now the Pittsburgh Playhouse, across the street from Carlow University's Palumbo Science Building. That's where Jitney was first performed. And my mother attended, my children were little, and we attended, and it was fascinating. It was fascinating because we had not known that August Wilson was putting all this together and that he had accomplished something that we could come and see. So it really was a work of art, and it was a true art, and it really was his.
What was your last conversation with him?
I remember well my last conversation with him, because in his striving to become all that he could be, one of the things he told me was, you know, he said, I want to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature. He said, but you know, they don't give that to you posthumously. And I said, well, okay. I said, but I hope that that you still have some weeks left, and I hope that you really get it. And because he wanted it so badly, I knew he wanted that. I wanted that for him too. But he passed away before they announced, who did really receive it. But if he had lived longer, he may have received it.
In May 2005, he was diagnosed with liver cancer. And the next month, his doctors determined it was inoperable. The end came on Sunday, October 2nd, 2005. August Wilson was 60 years old. He died in a Swedish medical center in Seattle.